Hey, everybody. My name is Charlie Stover. I'm a non-binary money coach, and I help LGBT and BIPOC folks make money their bitch. Today, I wanted to talk about credit card bonus offers. So as an introduction to this, I started credit card points hacking way back in 2018. And this really changed my life because it gave me insight into the fact that credit cards aren't this scary debt producing machine as long as you know exactly how they work and how credit card companies profit. This is one of the many credit card hacks that I work on with my clients. And it matters because capitalizing off of intro bonus offers basically gives you free money that you can use. So I started this points hacking journey when I was working as a tour guide, not even making $10,000 every summer. But this was a hack that a lot of tour guides use because they would get a lot of cash inflow, and then they would put expenses on their credit cards and getting reimbursed for these expenses. A lot of people points hack who, well, outside COVID times would travel for business purposes and get reimbursed. So basically, you're racking up a bunch of expenses, yet you're still having the cash inflow to pay for these things. I treat credit cards like debit cards. If I can't afford to buy something outright, I'm not going to pay for it. And that's the number one thing that credit card companies don't want me to do. Credit card companies hate people like me because we capitalize on the points and we don't pay interest. I've never paid a cent of interest on any credit cards because I pay off my monthly balance. I don't just pay the minimum because you still accrue interest if you only pay the minimum. No, I pay the entire balance off. So this is something that I've used to afford backpacking in Latin America for 6 months when I traveled alone. I still was on a budget. I stayed in hostels, I couch surfed, and I was able to stay in hotels because I racked up so many credit card points. And of course, these points go farther when you're traveling outside of the US and Europe and Japan and other more expensive countries. Latin America, my dollar goes farther. And so that's why I chose to backpack there for 6 months. I spent the same in 6 months that I probably would have spent in 1 or 2 months traveling somewhere like Europe that's more expensive, but still beautiful. So when to use bonus offers? I use them when I'm making an expensive move or have a large purchase coming up. You can even use them to pay your rent. However, I want you to be very careful about fees. I did not use my credit card to pay for my rent when I lived in Indianapolis, Indiana, when I was working there as a stockbroker for Charles Schwab. Why? Because they would charge me a 3% fee. And I was not making 3% off my credit card. If I had been making 5% cash back, then it would have been worth it for me because I would have been matched dollar for dollar. So I would just use a direct deposit from my checking account to pay my rent. That might not be the case for you. Your landlord might not charge credit card fees. And if not, I would definitely take advantage of that. When I moved to Indiana for work, I knew that I was going to be having a lot of expenses coming up, like putting down a deposit for my rent. I did the math and that was worth it with regard to the fees. And I had to buy a lot of fancy clothes because when I was a tour guide, I was just like wearing t-shirts and shorts and baseball caps because there was no dress code. But when I was a stockbroker, I had to level up my appearance. So I had to buy suits and more expensive clothing, and I had to basically furnish my apartment that wasn't furnished. So I maximized the Amex Platinum card that charges a $550 annual fee. At the time it did, but it gave me something like 80,000 points if I spent $3,000 or $4,000 in the first 3 months. And when I moved to Indiana, I easily spent that amount. So that Amex card gave me the points. I paid my monthly balance on time. And then I was able to get a lot of different gift cards for places like Cheesecake Factory. Definitely ordered multiple flavors at a time from Cheesecake Factory delivery. I ordered a whole platter that was like $50. But in retrospect, I didn't really like that would only give me more value out of gift cards too. So that's something to weigh. Some cards like the Chase will give you a higher dollar for dollar value, Whereas Amex, I felt like there was more value in the gift cards. So you always want to be informed about, what am I getting? Is this worth it for me? So that you can be an informed consumer. Don't just sign up for a credit card because Uncle Jimmy tells you to. Always make informed decisions and understand why you're making them and the repercussions. What's your interest rate? What's your annual fee? What are late payment fees? All of those things matter. Large purchases might come up, like if you have a hospital expense that you want to pay down too. The point is to use that window that they give you, those 3 months, to charge your card, but be able to pay all that back. If you're not, there's no point in maximizing these bonus offers. An example is the Amex Blue Cash Card. This isn't the sexiest travel card ever. This is not the Chase Sapphire Reserve that I also use for travel expenses, that doesn't charge foreign transaction fees. This one, unfortunately, does charge foreign transaction fees, but I did sign up for this card because I believe it's the COVID card when I was living in the States. You get 6% cash back at US supermarkets as well as streaming. So I still charge this card even though I'm abroad for my Netflix and other streaming. And so the way I analyze this bonus offer, I want to know how much I'm getting and how much I have to spend. This one is saying earn up to $400 back. Here's how. Okay, you can spend that much on Amazon, blah, blah, blah. Okay, if you spend $3,000 in purchases on the card within the first 6 months, you're earning $200 back, and you'll receive cash back in the form of statement credits. So this card is basically compartmentalized. If you spend $3,000 in purchases on this card within the first 6 months, you'll earn $200. In addition to that, you have to make purchases with Amazon. If you buy specifically from Amazon, then you'll get up to $200 back. These offers change all the time. Last month, I was walking a client through this, and this offer did not look anything like this. There was no mention of Amazon. These credit card companies are constantly changing their offers because maybe Amazon reached out to them and wanted to collaborate, and they said, sure. So it's really important to be up to date. This thing is saying this offer may not be available if you leave this web page and return later, because they know they're constantly changing. Another thing I want to look at is the intro APR. That's the annual percentage rate. A lot of these offers will get you good when they say there's a 0% intro APR on purchases for the first 12 months, so that this will make you feel like, ooh, I can spend. No, I don't care about the APR. I have credit cards with like a 19% APR, but I don't care. Why? Again, because I pay my stuff on time and I've never accrued a cent in interest, because I treat these credit cards like debit cards. This is exactly what points hackers do. I also want to look at the annual fee. Okay, $0 intro annual fee for the first year. Sounds great. Then $95 a year if you like it. So for the first year, if you qualify and get this card, it might be worth it because you get up to $400 back and you don't pay anything. Then at the end of the first year, that's when you want to start reassessing. Was this card worth it? Was the 6% cash back at US supermarkets worth it? Yes or no? I call this the COVID card because instead of spending money on travel, a lot of people are spending money on groceries and on streaming services too during quarantine. Even if it's not, this is a really good deal, but you kind of want to take a step back after a full year of using this and say, was the 6% cash back on all the other things worth it to have to pay $95 in the preceding years? If so, then sure, keep going. If not, what you can do is call the credit card company and say, I don't think this card is worth it. Is there anything you can do for me to keep my business? If not, I want to either cancel this card or downgrade it. I'll usually look into downgrading to a free card because that won't affect my credit score and I won't have to worry about any annual fees. I'm not the type of person to just set these cards and forget it without knowing exactly what I'm paying for every year. So at the end of every year, I'm reassessing, was this worth it? If not, I'll still call them, and these credit card companies want to retain your business. That's what they do. And then they might offer you a different card. You might have to close this one, because this is what happened to me. That $550 a year Amex Platinum card was not worth it to me. I called them and wanted to downgrade to a card for free, but they didn't have one. But they did offer me this card that I had no idea about. And they walked me through it. I asked the questions that I want you to ask yourself. What's the interest rate? What's the annual fee? What's the bonus offer? What are the perks? And then I was like, that sounds great, especially during COVID, 6% cash back at supermarkets. I can't think of another card charging such a low annual fee with such a high cash back rate. Sure, sign me up. So these are the kinds of things you as a consumer have the right to ask and question. Don't just get whatever credit card you see, because these companies will profit off of your lack of knowledge. So like I've said, how to maximize these, shop around. This is just one example that I'm giving you for how I analyze these intro offers and highlight how they change so frequently. You might want to just Google like intro bonus offers, or website like the Points Guy was a website that I subscribed to their newsletter for several months until I unsubscribed because their information became pretty redundant. But that's how I learned about points hacking, was subscribing to their newsletter. You want to be realistic about repayments. Again, treat your credit cards like debit cards. If you cannot afford the purchase, then don't sign up for this credit card. These companies make money off people who get really excited about these bonus offers that say, oh, just spend a couple thousand, no big deal, and we'll give you 80,000 points and life will be great. That's not the reality. And this is how these credit card companies are worth millions of dollars. And like I'd mentioned before, a year later, just reassess. If you're indecisive, you can also Google articles that say, is this card worth it? And there's different articles that will compare one card versus the other too. There's so much knowledge available online. And you can also call the company to see what they can do for you so that you can have, so that they can have your business, because they have customer retention as a priority, or at least they should if they're a large company. So I hope this was helpful. I offer a 12-week money coaching program to help LGBT and BIPOC folks make money their bitch. Follow Traveler Charlie for more information. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful.